Have you ever noticed that people seem to treat you differently as you get older? Friends don't call as often, family seems less patient, and strangers seem to ignore you completely. But what if these changes aren't just about them? What if they're also about you? Today, we're going to reveal 6 behaviors that may cause people to start feeling resentful toward you after the age of 70. And if you don't recognize these habits soon, the relationships you cherish could be lost forever. Now, let's get started. One of the fastest ways to push people away without even realizing it is constant negativity. By the time you reach 70 years old, you've been through a lot. Health issues, financial pressures, disappointments from family, society, or even within yourself. These emotions are real and they matter. But when frustration becomes the centerpiece of every conversation, people start to associate your presence with negativity rather than comfort or joy. Think about this. Your grown children visit every weekend, hoping to catch up and share some good news. But instead, you constantly complain about your back pain, rising food prices, or how things aren't like they used to be. At first, they listen, but gradually they start shifting in their seats. They glance at their watches, and soon the visits become less frequent. It's not that they don't care about you, but every visit is emotionally draining, and they have to find reasons to stay away from you. Would you like to spend time with someone who only focuses on the wrong things? Probably not. And the same goes for your loved ones. So, how can you turn things around? It all starts with awareness. The next time you feel like complaining, stop for a second and ask yourself, is this the kind of energy I want to bring to this conversation? And try shifting the focus to something more neutral or positive. Tell a funny story you heard. Compliment your friend's new haircut. Ask about something positive in their life. Even small moments of joy can completely change the tone of a conversation. Comment number 6 below if you're committed to making small adjustments to bring more positive energy when talking to others. And stay tuned, because the next behavior is something you've probably never considered before. As we grow older, we gain something incredibly valuable: wisdom. You've seen trends come and go, you've watched others make mistakes, and you've learned lessons the hard way. Naturally, you want to help your loved ones avoid those same pitfalls. But here's the thing. If your advice is unsolicited, it can come across as judgmental rather than instructive. This is especially true with younger family members. Your son may be raising his kids differently than you did. Your granddaughter may be making questionable financial decisions. Or perhaps your friend keeps ignoring their health issues and you just know that a better diet or exercise routine would help. And when you step in to correct them, even with the best intentions, they often perceive it as criticism rather than concern. Over time, this can push people away, not because they don't care about you, but because they don't want to feel like they're being lectured every time they talk to you. According to research published in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology, unsolicited advice is often perceived as controlling or condescending, even when it's well-meaning. People feel pressured, unsupported, and less likely to act on the advice and more likely to withdraw emotionally. In fact, studies show that unsolicited advice can trigger feelings of shame, defensiveness, or frustration, especially if the person already feels overwhelmed or insecure about the situation. So, what should you do instead? Ask before giving advice. Instead of saying, "You really shouldn't eat that, try this." Would you be interested in some tips I've learned about healthy eating? This simple shift makes all the difference. If they say yes, they're inviting you in. They're ready to hear your advice. If they say no, respect their choice. It can be hard to hold back sometimes, but respecting someone's independence shows you trust them to manage their own lives. And that trust, it strengthens your relationship. If you're still here and found this valuable, Comment your location so I know where we're connecting from. And stay tuned because the best advice is still ahead. The world is changing. It always has been, and it always will be. But one of the biggest mistakes people tend to make as they get older is resisting that change instead of adapting to it. And that's understandable. You've spent several decades with traditions, values, familiar ways of doing things, and now those seem to be disappearing. But when you refuse to embrace new ideas, new technology, or new social norms, you may unintentionally push people away. Think about this. Your granddaughter visits, excited to show you a new app she's been using to create short videos. But instead of sharing in her excitement, you shake your head and say, "I just don't get kids these days, always glued to their phones." Back in my day, we knew how to have real conversations. This can also happen in conversations about lifestyle changes. When your son talks about his new diet, you might reply, "That's ridiculous. People have been eating meat and potatoes for generations, and we turned out just fine." Or, when your neighbor mentions a new workout trend, you might wave it off and say, "Sounds silly. Walking is the only exercise people really need." Over time, these things build up, and your loved one may start to spend less time with you. Not because they don't care, but because they don't want every conversation to turn into a debate about how things used to be. So, what's the alternative? Curiosity. You don't have to love every new trend or adopt every modern habit, but simply being open to listening and learning can make a huge difference. Instead of saying, "That's stupid, I just don't get it," try saying, "That's interesting. Tell me more about it." It's a small shift, but it shows your loved ones that you are open-minded, not dismissive. Up next is a behavior that can create resentment and distance between you and your family or those around you. But before we dive into that, I have a 10-second request for everyone listening. If you'd like to support me in any way, just tap the notification bell and hit the subscribe button. It makes a huge difference. It helps this channel a lot. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this program even better for you. Deal? One of the biggest reasons relationships fail is when one partner expects too much without giving anything in return. In fact, you may not even realize it's happening. But as we get older, it's natural to need a little more help. Whether that's running errands, keeping up with doctor's appointments, or simply having someone to talk to. That's completely normal. However, when those needs start to outweigh what we give back, it can quietly create feelings of resentment and may gradually push people away. This can happen in several ways. Maybe you expect your children or grandchildren to always call first or visit regularly, yet you rarely reach out just to say hello. Perhaps you rely on your neighbors or friends for emotional support, yet you seldom check in to see how they're doing. Or maybe you assume that because you're older, your family should automatically make sacrifices to help you, even when they're busy with their own lives. At first, people are often happy to help, especially if they love you. But when that help goes unnoticed or starts to feel one-sided, they may begin to feel less appreciated and gradually start to pull away. According to research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, people who feel unappreciated in relationships are more likely to withdraw emotionally, not because they don't care, but because they feel exhausted and undervalued. And sadly, when this pattern develops, it's easy to misinterpret their distance as indifference, when in reality, they're simply trying to protect themselves from feeling overwhelmed. So, what should you do? Take a moment to reflect. If you notice that you're often receiving more than you're giving, look for ways to show gratitude and give back. Even small gestures like sending a thoughtful message, offering a kind word, or sharing a family recipe can make people feel appreciated rather than obligated. If you found this helpful, leave a comment below with the number 3 to let me know you're here. And if you've ever faced challenges with expecting too much without giving back, I'd love to hear how you've worked to improve. Your story might inspire someone else. Memories are beautiful. They remind us of our loved ones, our experiences, and the lessons we've learned. But when reminiscing becomes a habit, when every conversation starts with back in the day, or returns to the good old days, people may feel they can't connect with you in the present. This pattern happens more often than you might think. Research published in the Journal of Aging Studies shows that older adults who focus too much on past experiences are more likely to feel socially isolated. Not because people don't care, but because conversations start to feel repetitive and one-sided. Younger adults, in particular, may withdraw when they feel their current experiences are viewed as less important than their past ones. Even your closest friends, the ones who shared many of those memories with you, may start to feel frustrated if they hear the same stories too often. The result? People may start to avoid deeper conversations, not because they don't care, but because they want to be heard too. So, what should you do? Balance your memories with curiosity about the present. Share your stories, but keep them brief. Look for ways to create meaningful moments right now. Maybe by trying a new hobby, joining a local walking group, or finding new ways to connect with your family. And if you find yourself repeating a story, pause and ask yourself, have I said this before? If the answer is yes, try shifting the focus back to the present by asking your loved ones what's new in their lives. Most importantly, be open to creating new experiences rather than only reliving old ones. And get ready, because next, we're going to talk about something that can be even more damaging to relationships than dwelling on the past. Stay tuned. As we grow older, our relationships with family, friends, and even neighbors continue to evolve. But one thing never changes. People, regardless of their age, need personal space and boundaries that are respected. Unfortunately, one of the biggest mistakes people tend to make as they get older is assuming that their presence, opinions, or needs should always take priority simply because they're older. It's not intentional, but it happens more easily than you might think. Maybe you expect your family members to answer the phone immediately every time you call, and if they don't, you feel ignored or abandoned. Maybe you show up at someone's house unannounced, assuming they'll be happy to see you without considering that they might be busy. Or perhaps you push for personal information like who someone is dating, how they're spending their money, or what decisions they're making without acknowledging their right to privacy. In fact, constantly demanding attention or expressing emotions without considering how it affects others can lead to what experts call emotional fatigue. Everyone has their own struggles, worries, challenges, and responsibilities. And while expressing your feelings is important, creating space for other people's emotions is just as crucial. So, what should you do instead? Before calling someone, ask yourself, is this urgent? If it's something minor, consider sending a quick text instead. If someone sets a boundary, respect it without taking it personally. And if you often vent your frustration, sadness, or loneliness to the same person, pause and reflect. The bottom line is this: strong relationships are built on mutual respect. When people feel their boundaries are valued, they feel more comfortable, more willing to connect, and are far more likely to see you as an important part of their lives. If you're still watching this video and found this information helpful, please comment with the words number 2 below to let me know you're here. Growing older doesn't mean losing the people you love. But sometimes, without even realizing it, certain habits can quietly push people away. The good news is, once you recognize these patterns, you have the power to change them. We've talked about 6 common behaviors that can create distance in relationships. Being overly negative, where constant complaints leave others feeling emotionally drained. Giving unsolicited advice, even with good intentions, which can come across as criticism. Resisting change, which can make conversations feel exhausting rather than engaging. Expecting too much without giving back, leaving others feeling used or unappreciated. Dwelling too much on the past, making your loved ones feel disconnected from the person you are today. Disrespecting boundaries and personal space, causing others to feel overwhelmed or emotionally fatigued. Each of these behaviors can gradually build feelings of resentment. But once you recognize these habits, you can start making changes that will bring people closer together instead of pushing them apart. By making small adjustments, like balancing conversations with gratitude, respecting boundaries, or showing curiosity about the present, you can rebuild trust and strengthen your relationships. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 points stood out to you the most? Have you ever experienced someone pulling away and now you realize why? Your insights could be incredibly helpful to others going through similar challenges, so please don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found today's video interesting, don't hesitate to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Your support is very important to us. Be sure to check out the next video appearing on your screen. You're sure to love the content we bring. Please leave a comment about which country you'd like us to explore next. Thank you for watching, and see you in the latest video.